So after a bit of a false start and getting distracted by other things like Professor Layton, I finally completed the first of at least the movie portion of my challenge for this week. I finally finished watching. Well, I've actually just literally finished watching Bloodtrails. Um, it was an interesting movie, slasher flick, as you might have guessed from the fact it's called Bloodtrails. Uh, I couldn't find many details about it when I was trying to find like if it had actually been released in the cinema, etc. When I just did a quick search on the internet, the impression I got is it's a straight to DVD release. Apparently won some award in a horror film festival, 2006 or 2007. I can't quite remember which, but well, it's definitely a decent movie from and considering it was just a £3 impulse buy at the DVD section at the place I work. It's not bad at all. Basic story. Bit of a weird girl. She's having flashbacks. It's hard to pinpoint until you get later in the film, like if it's recent or what. She's having problems with a boyfriend. They decide to go away to a place they apparently went early in the relationship to try and rekindle the magic, and she's a bike messenger, so they go on a bike ride and find their special trail. I'm guessing it was. Is closed to bikers, but decide to go on it anyway. So that kind of sets up the whole film. Bloodtrails, just deserted bike trail couple. And the flashbacks were about another guy who is the killer in this particular slasher flick. They eventually run into him, and there's a very cool bit. This spoiler alert, but I mean it happens in the first 20 minutes, and the rest of the film's quite interesting as it is, so it's not too big of a deal. But there's a very cool scene where the boyfriend gets it. Unsurprisingly, I mean it's a slash flick, people, but he'll use his bike, jumps, and I couldn't quite spot whether he had something attached specifically to the bike, but basically by sweeping around close enough to the boyfriend, ends up slashing his throat, and as he's lying there bleeding, it seemed to be a mixture of both oil and blood. I don't know whether it was just really dark blood or if it actually was oil and blood, but it was incredibly disgusting. And yeah, and as you'd expect with this kind of movie, the victim, well, the intended victim, the girl, runs into people who try to offer help, think she's crazy, things go wrong, many people dead, and also typical, she ends up having many opportunities to try and escape, and for whatever reason, either they fail or she decides to go back. Uh, for instance, to her dying boyfriend rather than getting taken to the hospital. So yeah, it was an interesting movie. It would never rate in like a top 10 or anything like that, but it was definitely worth watching. And uh, also, as you'd expect with a film like this, they know they're getting an 18 rating for the violence, and it does get quite violent and graphic. So they throw in some nudity there as well. It's just like, well, 18's guaranteed. We might as well throw in the boobs. Might get us extra sales. I mean, it doesn't seem to be any real reason. It's just there. That's it happens. Most of it early on. There's a bit right at the end, but I mean, it's getting disgusting by that point. So yeah. So there's that as well. And if you do find it for cheap, I wouldn't recommend like buying this over like new releases like The Dark Knight or anything like that if they're comparable in price. But if you've got a bit of spare change and you see it on sale, then I would recommend actually picking it up. Um, one final note, I'm not going to spoil the motivations and stuff like that because why else are you watching this, to try and unravel why on earth the psychopath's after her? But it did seem quite similar to in the Shield. I think it started off storyline in season 2 that concluded in season 3 with the cuddler rapist, and there's a scene towards the end that throws the character Dutch into a bit of a spin when he explains his motivation of why on earth he was killing all these women, and the killer in this, it seemed quite similar to that. That's quite cryptic and completely useless if you haven't seen The Shield. But I don't really want to say more than that because it's just an interesting twist at the end. So I would rather go without spoiling that. But yes, so that's one film down. About 80 more to go. Haven't quite chosen the new one yet, but I'll mention what I chose when I update about Yakuza, which I should do at some point tomorrow. Definitely haven't finished it, but I should do. It shouldn't be more than 2 weeks of videos worth. So yes, interesting movie, definitely worth getting.